Welcome guys, welcome. This is going to be ChatTactic number 22 for 2025. All these little numbers are starting to get a bit confusing. I always forget which one I'm up to, but anyway. So welcome. We're going to be looking at Elemental Reforged, which is the big announcement for today's stream, which I'm really looking forward to being able to sort of show and present, because it's a game that I spent a lot of time with, I've got to say. So I'm going to be going through and doing a bit of a deep dive into the history of this particular series, the good and the bad, which is fine. It's one of the things where I ended up absolutely loving what Stardock does out of the process. Anyway, this is actually a sponsored stream, so I do want to just mention that before we get started. And I have put a link, a tracking link in the chat. It's sort of a pinned link there where you can actually just go straight to the Elemental Reforged page and have a bit of a look to see what goes on. We'll have a look at the at this video fairly soonish, but we'll get to that in due course. We'll just do the normal sort of gaming news and that as well, and I think I've still got a giveaway or two that I can give away. So we'll do a giveaway at the end of the session as well. So hi William, how are you going? And hi to anybody else that's joined us as well. But as I said before, look, the big news is that Elemental Reforged has been announced, and which is really interesting. Like and I do want to go through the history, but let's just go through the Steam page, I guess, and the details on the Steam page. We'll start off with the video because that is the announcement video. I might run it a couple of times. One just to come on, play. We'll just go and do the big one. I'll just get it up full screen and you can then watch it in all its glory.
Long ago, the vision for Elemental was so vast, it shattered into three: War of Magic, Fallen Enchantress, Sorcerer King. Each of these fragments held part of the grand design. Now, these fragments have been gathered, combined, and reforged into something new. Now, rediscover your destiny, design your sovereign, explore a devastated world, build fantastic cities, and discover lost magic and technology. Craft artifacts, engage in epic battles, negotiate treaties, and send your adventurers on quests. Because in the end, only you can save or destroy this world.
There we go. So you can add to the wish list today, and it's going to be interesting actually. I'm going to look at some of the comments as well and just sort of go through and just sort of get the bit of a feel for what the community is sort of thinking about this particular announcement as well. So I'm not under any sort of instruction to sort of to really talk. I can just sort of talk about the game because I'm very close to Elemental, and then of course the spin-offs that we saw back through there. If we kind of a bit of look through here again.
It shattered into three.
Now, it's not fair to say it shattered into three. It evolved, I think, into three. So this is actually the progression of the game. And to be honest, Fallen Enchantress for me was the absolute high point of the three games. And so, that's really where Elemental ended up. And I can talk a little bit about the history that I know of Elemental. Like, there's certain aspects that I don't really know, but I'll just sort of go through some of the other bits and pieces. Hi Shards, how you going? Saying brilliant, happy Monday. Looks like Stardock is rolling the dice on the franchise once again. Yeah, I hope so. Like, I mean, well, they are. That's one thing. I just I hope that this is the start of a ongoing process of having like an Elemental 2, etc., because I think that what they're doing is by bringing them all back into essentially one entity, that is going to be great for the rest of us. And it's not just a remaster as well, by the way. This is actually I was a little bit worried that it was just going to be a remaster of existing content, but it's actually much more than that. So there's a lot of exciting prospects here. So Shards is saying they have their work cut out for them to compete with current 4X games. Well, this is a 4X, this is a essentially I don't know if it's the starting point or even if it's a fair way along. I did read some of the comments yesterday, and I'm particularly interested in essentially what Stardock says about the game and about their approach, because I've always I've always loved the passion from Stardock with what they end up doing, and so you get a sense as to what the commitment level actually is for the game, and it looks to be high, which is a high commitment level from what I can sort of see, which is awesome. Which means that we're probably going to sort of see something that rolls forward for quite some time. So anyway, let's just go through the history of Elemental, Fallen Enchantress, and Sorcerer King. Elemental essentially started its life because as a remake, or as it was going to be Master of Magic. At one point, Stardock thought that they basically had the IP for Master of Magic. This is a long, long time ago, probably 20 odd years ago, and it ended up that and I don't know if you know the history of Master of Magic. Master of Magic started in the 1990s. It's like 1994, I think it was. Absolute sort of like it defined the fantasy 4X genre and the original game. And then through a course of different things, I think it ended up with Atari, and Atari just wouldn't sell the IP to anybody. But Stardock thought that they had access to it at one point, so they started work on Master of Magic, essentially the remake of it. And then they found, oh, we don't have the IP. Like there was sort of some sort of confusion with what ended up happening, and so they then pivoted and then built Elemental War of Magic, and this was. Well, I think it came out 15, 20 years ago. Like, it was a long time ago. It was a long time in the making as well, and I was actually part of the beta. It was an interesting beta. It's like, I know you're not supposed to sort of talk about the actual beta process, but it sort of was. It was a difficult beta to be part of. It was something that I was super passionate about. Like in terms of, I love Fantasy 4X games, and at that point in time, like if you sort of watch the channel, you sort of know that I play a lot of Age of Wonders. And at that point in time, the Triumph Studios had moved away from Age of Wonders and was doing like dungeon crawler type games and things like that. So essentially, when Elemental was announced, it was like, oh, perfect! This is exactly what I've been waiting for and looking for. And there was a lot of innovations that came with Elemental. Like Stardock did a lot of things that are now just common in games. Like, for example, I still remember when they announced that they had come up with essentially like the cloth map. Now, I don't know if they invented the cloth map in games, but it was the first time I'd ever heard the terminology of the cloth map, and it was something that they really did develop very, very stringently. And it's still, even the initial way that they handled the cloth map in Elemental is still super relevant today, like, all this time later. So there's all these little innovations that came with Elemental. Elemental was a 32-bit game, like from back in that era. And so for me, where Elemental sort of went off the rails a little bit, and from somebody who was sort of doing some beta testing, it was the beta testing. We never got to beta test the whole game. It was just little bits and pieces to see how game mechanics worked. But it was more so the game mechanics themselves were really, really good individually, but when you combined them all, it just became almost too much. It was almost like sort of cooking with too many ingredients. And so the feature creep that happened through the development of Elemental just went too far. There was a lot of excitement, a lot of it was really a big passion project, which from Stardock's perspective. And so when it launched, it didn't launch well at all, like, because it was essentially, the balance was completely off. And so at that point, Stardock could have just kept on essentially polishing a turd, if there's the terminology, like where you've got something that's just not working and you just keep on trying to make it work. So they could have tried to do that, and they didn't, which, kudos to them. They recognised that there were issues with the game, and so they brought in a modder at that point in time who had been working on the Fall from Heaven mod for Civilization, and it's sort of been sort of organising all sorts of other modders to build what at that time was the best, recognised as the best mod ever made for any game. And so that was Kale, the modder called Kale, who is Derek Paxton, essentially. And so they employed Derek Paxton to then look at Elemental to see, okay, look, fresh eyes, somebody from the outside, somebody who's familiar with the fantasy 4X genre, to come in and actually see what needed to be done. And essentially, Cale sort of said, look, I don't think we can fix the base game as such, so what we'll need to do is actually go and pivot and build something new, which is what Fallen Enchantress became. And this was really a work of art. So it went from all of the things that didn't work well in Elemental at that point were put aside. All of the things that worked well were then sort of remastered or recombined, and then other things added in to then create Fallen Enchantress, which was a great game back in its day. And so Fallen Enchantress then had a few DLCs introducing different factions, and I do believe that the changes that came with the DLCs will be part of this Reforged thing as well. So we'll talk a bit more about the Reforged as it does come back through. And so Fallen Enchantress really was a 4X game, where it had fairly simple combat. Like it wasn't. You didn't get stuck, playing the. You didn't get caught for too long playing the tactical battles. Like it's sort of, that's one of the things, again, if we compare it to a game like Age of Wonders, the tactical battles take a long time. Like they're very, very detailed, very complex. Whereas with Fallen Enchantress and Elemental, basically the idea was to be able to play the tactical battles out fairly quickly, but still actually have some real choice to make when you actually are playing those battles. And so they essentially, you can tick all the boxes there. Like it really was, so the tactical battles were nice and fast, but still meaningful. The game itself was quite random. You didn't really know what you were going to get when you played Fallen Enchantress. I'm thinking, like, I'm going to keep on talking about Fallen Enchantress at this stage, even though it had stemmed from Elemental. Oh, the other thing too, I've got to say that when Elemental did launch, Stardock made a commitment to everybody who had bought Elemental, like had essentially pre-bought it, and for a long period of time, if you bought Elemental, they made the commitment that Fallen Enchantress, and I think it was going to be Fallen Enchantress plus a couple of DLCs, I think, of Fallen Enchantress, were going to be just given to you as essentially to as a commitment from Stardock about the launch of Elemental. And so they wanted people to be passionate about the project. And I've got to say that commitment at that point in time, and I wasn't doing YouTube videos at that stage, so I was one of those people that actually was in that category. And it was, and so it was, that for me was just, that Stardock won me over essentially. At that point I thought, this is how you handle issues. This is how you, like, it's when things go well, you don't really learn much about a company, but you do learn about it when things don't go well. And Elemental, things didn't go well, and Stardock and Brad Wardell, the CEO of Stardock, just made a commitment. We're going to look after this community that's is passionate about Elemental, and so for me, that I became a Stardock fanboy at that point. Even though Elemental was a disappointment, this is before Fallen Enchantress even sort of came out, but just the overall commitment that this is going to be, this is the direction we're going to take, and the commitment we're going to make to the community. And it was just the right decision to make in terms of keeping a very passionate community on board, which is, and it took a long time. It took, I think, 2 years or something before it actually started to sort of come to fruition with Fallen Enchantress. So it did take some time I think it was 2 years. I forget the actual timing. This is before these games were even on Steam, to be honest. These were these were sold directly from Stardock, the actual games themselves. But it sort of, Fallen Enchantress sort of did hit with a lot of critical acclaim. So it went from Elemental being a poor release, poor game at release, to Fallen Enchantress being pretty much a work of art. So that was the high point. And then they, some years after that, they then brought out Sorcerer King. And Sorcerer King was more like a role play type game. So they took the quest mechanics. This is my take on it anyway, because I didn't really play Sorcerer King too much because I was still really loving Fallen Enchantress at that stage. So Sorcerer King sort of came at a point where I just didn't need to play it. It's a game that that I was interested in. I was doing YouTube videos by this stage, and it was something that I played. I liked it, but the scope of it was much smaller than Fallen Enchantress, and I think it was the scope of it that just didn't really sort of gel with me, and the fact that it was sort of like quest driven was also something that I didn't really enjoy. I didn't enjoy as much, I should say. So anyway, that was essentially where we ended up with the series of the three. And so Elemental Reforged, and I'm glad that they've gone back to the Elemental name, to be honest, because it's been a long time, and it's certainly, for someone like me, like I know that the degree of passion I had for Elemental when it was announced, and when it first came out that they were building it, I was so passionate about this project. Like it was one of those things, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but there was, but I would actually often. Like it was one of those things I'd wake up thinking about, like, or go to bed thinking, oh geez, I hope that they're going to be working on this or that, So I was living in the forums for the particularly for the beta and for any announcement that came out about Elemental. It was one of those games that I was just so passionate about it. I'm trying to think of other games that I've been as passionate about. I know I've been passionate about a couple of them in terms of pre-development, and but I don't think anything even came close to the level of excitement I had for Elemental. Actually, I'm thinking maybe the only other thing I can think of is before they were making when the internet first came out, and they were making the Lord of the Rings movies, and there was speculation about how they were going to screw them up. And I still remember that, again, like now we look back at those movies as the high point for Lord of the Rings, but there was so much consternation about those particular movies, and I couldn't stop reading every little comment about the making of the Lord of the Rings movies, because I've read Lord of the Rings about 12 times, I think. I love that whole fantasy type aspect. Anyway, let me read some more of the comments, and we'll just see where we get up to. So Shards is in saying they have their work out for them to compete with current Forex games. Actually, I did that one before. Hi Thor, how you going? Shards is in sort of saying Fallen Enchantress had one of the roughest releases of any game I can remember. It took years to fix that game in working order. Well, that was when it was Elemental. Fallen Enchantress did hit well when it actually did launch. It was Elemental. Definitely Elemental. Elemental, when it did launch, it was a very, very rough launch. It must have been devastating for Brad and the team at Stardock. And it sort of, and again, it was one of those things at the time, the commitment that they made to fix it was, and it's sort of one of those things, how you can pile on people when things go bad, and it's almost like, like you can be negative with people, but. And I think that Stardock would have had to have dealt with a fair bit of that with the launch of Elemental, but they still made the commitment, to look after the community, and probably. And I know that it was pretty scathing. The community was pretty scathing when Elemental did launch, but credit to Stardock. As I said before, this whole story of from Elemental to Fallen Enchantress won Stardock over for me. I've been a Stardock fanboy since that time, just because of that commitment. When times were hard, they actually made the commitment to us, the gamers, to look after us, and they really did. Like in the sense, if you were part of the Elemental, if you were involved and supported Elemental when it was in development, and were part of the sort of the disappointment, they then really delivered with Fallen Enchantress, and they supported that, like, as in terms of that commitment from Elemental to Fallen Enchantress for years. Like, it was actually not just 3 months later, here's something else for you. It took years for them to actually deliver on that promise, and they did. And again, massive kudos to Stardock. As I said before, at that point in time, that's when you sort of see the character of Brad and Stardock themselves, with what they actually end up doing. So for me, they completely won me over as an absolute fanboy of their overall approach at that point in time. And it's sort of one of those things, like, people love to hate on people, but I love what they did to correct that. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because, you know, as I said before, I don't know if that makes what I say a bit biased with Stardock, but I love their commitment to excellence. And you see that with other games, for example, like Galactic Civilizations just keeps on getting better and better and better. And so I'm really excited for this because this is also the start of something that I think will just get better and better and better as well. So anyway, this is this for me is sort of like a reset to you know, to a step one, which can then sort of start to move forward. And and the more I read about what they're doing with this, the more excited I am. When I first heard about it, I thought, oh, there could be some issues. You know, like Elemental was pretty poor in the way it did things. Fallen Enchantress, I would have been happy with a Fallen Enchantress too, to be honest, and probably still would be. But but what they're going to be doing, I think, is bringing back the best of all three, combining them into something cohesive as a start, and that should be then the starting point for moving forward, I guess, with the series over the coming, you know, years and decades, hopefully. Really looking forward to it. Okay, so yeah, so Thor is saying, yeah, yes, it was, yeah, like in terms of the release. Hi, Lewis, how you going? Shards is saying the cel-shaded art really turned me off when I saw it. I think the art's going to be pretty much the same sort of style. I did read something that there was a statement, and we'll have a look at the statements actually in a minute. So we'll just go through it and we'll just talk about each of the different aspects. So Thor is then saying the game did have a doomstack problem, just like all civs until Civ 4 and then the Amplitude game. They did have it, but they did correct it. From what I can remember in Fallen Enchantress. I've got my memory's pretty bad when it comes to, like, you know, it's a long time since I played Fallen Enchantress, but they did actually correct, like there was when Elemental and when Fallen Enchantress first released, there was a doomstack issue where you could actually just sort of run away with the game, but they did fix that up through balancing it through heroes and things, and so there's a lot of pretty cool things they ended up doing there. I thought I was saying then the other Stardock games had doomstack problems too. Yeah, so that was, from what I can recall, that was fixed in Fallen Enchantress. Yeah, there we go. So Shards is saying Fallen Enchantress came out 3 years after Age of Wonders Shadow Magic, and I'm still playing Shadow Magic. That's all I can say. Yeah, well, see, for my journey was pretty much the same. Like I was playing. I think it was longer than 3 years, to be honest. I think that Fallen Enchantress came out 3 years, I think, after Elemental, but Elemental was a good 5 or 6 years after Shadow Magic, I think. I think Shadow Magic came out in the, like around about 2003, 2004. I'm just going off memory here. In fact, let's go and have a look at that. Let's just go and have a look at the, and see the progression, the timeline. Age of Wonders. We'll just go in and just see when the launches were. Yeah, Shadow Magic 2003. So that's when Shadow Magic came out. So that's the so 2003. So I was right about that one. Elemental, War of Magic. Just see what it says in through here. You can see there the 4 out of 10. They had pretty poor ratings in through this other side. Yeah, so it was 7 years after. So 7 years after Shadow Magic came out was Elemental. So it was a long time. And in that period of time, actually, when did Age of Wonders 3 come out? Because let's go and do 3. 2014. So yeah, so we've got so there's a big gap. There's an 11-year gap between. So this is actually, when you sort of look at these really were the leading, sort of 4X games, fantasy 4X games at that point in time. And if we have a look at Fallen Enchantress, Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes came out. That was different to, there was Elemental Fallen Enchantress, which came out in 2012. So you can see there, that's 2 and a bit years after the first release. So when we look at those different timelines. We're looking at 7 years from Shadow Magic, which really was one of the high points of Fantasy 4X, and then Triumph then went off and did other things at that point in time. Elemental was then announced, it came out in 2010, but it was in development for a good couple of years before that. So by that stage, I know that when Elemental was announced, I was looking for a Fantasy 4X to replace Shadow Magic. And so that for me was actually why I was so involved in Shadow Magic. Sorry, looks like we're getting Nightbots. Sorry, deleting different messages here. I'm sorry, guys. It's doing that. I'll try to bring them back if I can. Unfortunately, if you use caps, I'm not sure why it's done that. God, it's a pain in the ass. Just don't use caps. When you reply to battle mode, unfortunately, battle mode's it's a high battle mode. Battle mode's got all caps in his name, and Nightbot will ban you if you keep on talking to battle mode. So battle mode needs to change his name to upper and lowercase, just so that people don't get banned. You can see through there. Nightbot's was warning William and Shards, I think, for using caps. Is that what it was doing? I'll just go and have a look. Spamming caps. Yeah, so there we go. Unfortunately, battle mode is the bringer of destruction for if you are trying to make comments, but you should be okay. So actually, battle mode's even saying that Nightbot doesn't like my name. Yeah, no, it's sort of unfortunately, battle mode doesn't sort of the battle mode's name causes all sorts of issues. So just be careful using caps. I've got to look and see if I can change. I always forget to do it, but I've got to change Nightbot so it doesn't get quite as aggressive. All right. So anyway, let's just keep on going through. So timing. We've got 2003. Shadow Magic comes out. 7 years later, Elemental comes out. But there's a long period of time. That's a long time in gaming, in sort of gaming parlance. And so Elemental is probably in development for, I'd say, 2 years, because I'm thinking that around about 2008 would have been when I would have been involved in the beta, and it certainly was. It went for a long period of time. The commitment was then made in 2010, essentially with the launch of Elemental, to look after anyone who bought Elemental. And I think there was even a thing where you could still buy Elemental, but they would still then commit to giving you Fallen Enchantress plus one or two. I think it was 2 DLCs, and those DLCs actually this was a commitment that lasted for years, like years and years, because it did each actual DLC was pretty cool. That did come out for for Fallen Enchantress. Legendary Heroes, I think, was one that by the time it came out, it was. That was a bit different. That was actually where the commitment had then sort of run its course. But they did give a lot back to the community, with those early days. So, hi, Kat. Kat's saying, "Oh, Fallen Enchantress." Yes. So, just keep on reading a few more. Garation saying all those random views that you had on the your tutorial series for Fallen Enchantress, you got for years and years after that was me, and you never went back and made them public. I've got to do that. I've just got to do it. It's just I'm so time poor. I really don't have time to do anything. Like it's I sort of I just really run out of time, and unfortunately I'm going to go through every single one of them. What I can do is I can actually search for specific videos, and I might just do that with Fallen Enchantress and just bring all of those ones back. And just try to sort of start with those sorts of videos. And I know I've got Dwarf Fortress as well that I need to do that with. So me, myself, and I was saying, sorry, Daz, to bust your rose-tinted glasses, but EFH, so Elemental Fallen Enchantress, is a broken, useless game, unbalanced units, broken AI, UI, its suboptimal concept of city building. It's just an incentive to save scum. I think all Fantasy 4Xs are incentive to save scum. And everyone will have their own perspective. Everyone will have something that they focus on, with games as well. So I understand that. Like, it's not really, everyone's allowed to have their perspective, which is fine. But I really did enjoy Fallen Enchantress an awful lot. George is saying felt the same for Age of Wonders games. Yeah, then again, you're going to have people who just really don't like the tactical combat of Age of Wonders, for example. Hi, Sithel, how you going? Squat Master saying they were right for thinking that. They ruined the Amazon show. I'm not sure what that one was. Hi, Drexy, how you going? Now, I'll try to view, yeah, okay, there we go. So William is in saying, sounds interesting. I've added Reforged to my Steam wish list. Yeah, I think it's, I'm excited. And the more I read about this, the more excited I get about Elemental. Me, myself, and I was saying, oh wait, I forgot broken combat mechanics, bows with unlimited range, and overall a bland gameplay experience. Yeah, so with the ranged attacks, yeah, this is I do agree with you with that. I'm hoping that they do sort of do something with that. I think there was a to-hit aspect with bows that was based like where there was a to-hit. I think vaguely from what I can remember with Fallen Enchantress, there was actually when someone used a bow, there was a to-hit problem if you were too far away, but I may be wrong about that. I've got a funny feeling that I know what you mean. Like the whole battlefield was accessible to the archers. Like they didn't have to move anywhere; they could just stay in the back corners and actually play. So William is then sort of saying, yeah, I love the Gal Civ games. Yeah, well, see, Gal Civ again, Elemental, and this is again where Elemental was really quite innovative, like very, very innovative with its overall approach, which is, why we've got cloth maps and things like that in other games and that as well, is that when you look at the innovations that did come with it, it was originally, I believe that Elemental was supposed to be built on the engine for Gal Civ. And when they started to sort of build Elemental, they figured out that they just couldn't do it. And so they needed to sort of build an engine from scratch. So the Elemental engine underneath it all, and Fallen Enchantress, was actually a purpose-built engine for Fantasy 4X's. And so that was actually interesting as well, just even from that perspective. It was something where they couldn't just make a Gal Civ version of the game and to be done with it. So again, there's a lot of commitment. Stardock did so many things under the hood with this game. It's just it really is phenomenal. And again, where Fallen Enchantress ended up, like back in its day. Remember, that's more than 10 years ago now. More than 10 years ago that we ended up getting Fallen Enchantress. So yeah, it's sort of they're fairly oldish, the actual games themselves. Just going to keep on going through. She's saying, I wonder if I can recreate my Crypt Keeper Empire, where I had living people taking care of undead lords that fought for them. I like that combo. I think that you can, from what I've read in the comments and from what Stardock have sort of said, yes, I believe that when we get Elemental Reforged, we're going to get like all of the DLC content as well, including the undead. So I would assume that would actually be right. Shards was then sort of saying, yep, Gal Civ 2 is a timeless classic for sure. Yeah, Gal Civ 2 was a high point in the Gal Civ range until Gal Civ 4. And Gal Civ 4 took Gal Civ 2 as its main source of inspiration for where it's where it's heading off now. I think there's some news about Gal Civ 4 as well, actually, in the Steam news, which we'll get to. Thor is saying the closest game to Fallen Enchantress I know is Master of Magic. A good strategic layering and great and fast tactical battles, much quicker than Age of Wonders 4, less fatiguing. Yes, and again, that's a valid comment really about the games, and of course, as we sort of said before, Elemental started its journey thinking it was going to be a Master of Magic, and so it ended up having to pivot very, very early on into becoming Elemental. But it's so it doesn't really play like Master of Magic, but the pacing is very, very good with essentially Elemental / Fallen Enchantress. Cat's saying tomorrow Dad Tactics will do Tuna Tuesday and play fishing game. No, I won't. No, Cat, I won't. I've already said hi to Battle Mode with his problematic caps. You've got to get that changed, Battle Mode. You have to do it. You have to do it. It's causing issues. And again, we've got different deleted messages back through there. So with Nightbot then sort of being nasty. Shards is then saying, yeah, I'll blame the cook, not the patron. There we are. So, and hi, Mormagil, how you going? Bibbo's saying, anyone got Fallen Enchantress working 100% on Steam Deck? Always start. Yeah, I don't know. I don't use Steam Deck. One girl saying excited for this one, even though it won't run on my current PC. Yeah, this is going to be 64-bit rather than 32-bit, so it's certainly going to be much more involved. Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes was a favourite game, says Mormagil. Yes, same for me as well. I did love that game. I loved where that one ended up. You know, essentially that was sort of like the culmination of Fallen Enchantress. Shards are saying, yep, nice talking to you, bro. I tried. Yes, you did. Still saying you heard it from Dad. You get banned if you talk to Mr. Battle Mode. It's not a bug. It's a feature. Poor old Battle Mode. I'm actually interested in getting Battle Mode's perspective on this, to be honest, because Battle Mode has, I think that from Battle Mode's perspective, and look, Battle Mode, so just to put it out there, Battle Mode does do work for Stardock. So, but we have discussions privately about things, and I know that Battle Mode is very, very excited about this, just from a personal perspective. So you can say even from outside of his actual work commitments. And I know I shouldn't really talk about private conversations, but I know that this is actually something that Battle Mode's very, very interested for. I think Fallen Enchantress was sort of way up there in terms of his gaming enjoyment. So. Anyway, so let's keep on going. So Shards is saying, looking at Reforged, it would seem they kept the same artist, because I can't tell the difference between that and Fallen Enchantress. I think it's a reforging. It's not a remake. It's not a version 2. So and I'll get into that as well. They have used the same. For example, they're using the same art assets, but they have used AI to upscale them so that they can actually. So you've got better. You've got essentially getting a better engine, better experience, but the same visual elements. So if you didn't like the visual elements in the original games, you're not going to like the visual elements in Reforged as well. So just to put that out there. I'm just going to grab myself a drink of water. Be right back. Right. Okay, so what did we get up to? Cat saying, I have a love-hate for Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes. I just want to build a base for the game keeps on bombarding you with quests and enemy units. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, and that's also why I didn't really like Sorcerer King. Sorcerer Kings was the quest. The quests were just overbearing for me. I don't like that's why, for example, I prefer Dominions over what is it, Conquest of Elysium. In terms of that sort of those two games. And I do find that the quest system was overwhelming. So I hope that they sort of have ways to tweak that and not make it as pronounced. I tend to turn quests off in games, to be honest, for that exact reason. I'm just thinking like Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, I turn the quests off. Age of Wonders, I'm starting to turn the quests off. I don't like quests in games. They sort of superficially sort of push you into different directions. Even thinking in Gal Civ, there's certain things where I sort of tone down what things will actually come from that as well. So yeah, I don't really like quests. I'm with you, Kat. I don't like quests. So Mormagil saying the art style was a bit of an acquired taste. I'll give you that. Yes, I think so too. And we'll have a look at the we'll have another look at the video again at some point, or we'll have a look at the screenshots. Maybe just go through those. So Sizzle's saying, and I like those quests so often. You get the trait that lets you get even more quests. But I'm saying that. The Elemental and Age of Wonders are completely different games. Yes, they are. Elemental is more of a classic proper Fantasy 4X game where the balance is carefully made between tactical combat and strategy. I wouldn't agree with that. Battle Mode and I have major disagreements about Age of Wonders. I love Age of Wonders. Battle Mode's sort of like ambivalent about it when we do actually have conversations about it. For me, Age of Wonders is one of my favourite games, and so it's sort of. I think that the issue that Battle Mode's alluding to is that the tactical combat is so prevalent in Age of Wonders that it gets in the way of the 4X, something, if I'm paraphrasing that. And games like Fallen Enchantress sort of tone down the time that you spent in tactical combat to allow you then to sort of work on the 4X. I also know, by the way, I did read some of the comments that that the city creep from Fallen Enchantress, where you could sort of string out these really long cities, which were sort of they were a pain in the ass, to be honest. That's been tweaked as well and changed. So I think it's going to be more of the Sorcerer King's approach, which was sort of more just in around a more sort of cohesive clump. I think that's sort of how, I can't remember too much about the games in its specifics, but I do remember that reading those sorts of things as well. So there's definitely going to be some innovations with this particular aspect of the game as well. Mormagill's saying I had a build that soloed the game with your Sovereign. Oh, okay. And Battlemode's saying where Age of Wonders was really a tactical combat game with a loose. Yeah, there we go. See, yep. So Battlemode's just putting his statement there. Age of Wonders 4 rebalanced that a bit more, but still more focused on the combat. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the tactical combat in Age of Wonders is really where the game is focused, like to a large degree. It's a major part of the game. Mormagill talking again about the having a solo sovereign, just saying it definitely relied on quests and rewards to do that one. And battle mode, oh, hang on, here we go. So, where are we going? So, so battle mode was then saying, Brad was telling me that they researched the combat system very thoroughly, and that was why they made it shorter and faster paced, because that works best for those kinds of 4X games. Yes, like I think that there was a lot of thought put into Elemental. It was just... as I said before, it's sort of the combat was meaningful in Fallen Enchantress, and I'm sort of thinking more of Fallen Enchantress than any of the other games in the series. It was meaningful. It was not. It wasn't easy. It was much better for me. For example, I like the combat much better in Fallen Enchantress than Master of Magic. So I think that it worked much better than Master of Magic's combat. It was more complex, and I think it worked better, and it was fast paced. Like you could sort of get through the combat much faster than Age of Wonders. So so it's interesting the differences there. Thor is saying, it was really good tactical combat. Yes, it was sort of, it's interesting, like, see, I've been wrong about a lot of the combat that Stardock puts into games, and the balance, like, for example, I was scathing about the lack of tactical combat in Gal Civ, and it was one of those things where I love the Gal Civ as a game, like the Galactic Civilizations as a game, but I always thought it really needed, hands-on tactical combat. And they've addressed it so well with what they've done with the auto battle system. And so the auto battle system in Galactic Civilizations has evolved over the years, into something that works very well. But when you sort of realize, like, I'm somebody who tends to play games for a short period of time, and then I stop them before they get too big. But if you play Galactic Civilizations in, well and truly past the mid game, you end up with these monstrously large battles with, heaps and heaps of different ships, where tactical combat would just be an absolute, it would be painful to play that in tactical combat. I think you'd end up with the same sort of experience that people do get with probably the old Age of Wonders games, where Age of Wonders would allow you to have not just 3 stacks, but you'd be able to essentially have, how many could you actually have? You could have, 6 stacks versus 1 other stack. So you'd end up with an incredible number of units, which would take hours to play out a tactical combat. And so this is where, I was very vocal about that. I thought Gal Civ did need to have tactical combat in it, but it was, again, Stardock sort of was like, no, it's not going to do it. It's got to work at all aspects of the game, and 100% right. Like, I'm now 100% on board with that aspect, and they have made it more meaningful in that game. So, and then with Fallen Enchantress, you do have tactical combat, but it's not onerous. So anyway, that's going to be interesting to sort of see how that one does go through. Drex is saying, really excited for Reforged, but I kind of wanted a new Fantasy 4X, but I'm guessing with Derek Paxton leaving, that was shelved. I don't know, like, it's sort of funny. I don't know if Derek's involved in this one, actually. I've got I did read something as well that it was the old team back again, but I don't know if that means the old Elemental team before Derek joined. Derek is Kale, by the way, which we were talking about before, with coming from the modding community, and stayed with Stardock up until a year or two back, I think. So he was there for a long period of time, and sort of in charge of really game development. So I'm not sure if Derek's back to help with this one here. It would be cool if he was. So we'll see how that one does actually go. Where have we got? Mormagirl saying, yeah, you cannot have crunchy combat without ruining the pace. Yes, but the combat was fine, not as good as Age of Wonders, but definitely good on its own. Yeah, I think Age of Wonders scaled their combat down to try to make it so that it was more meaningful, and I think that's worked in Age of Wonders 4. But yeah, that's certainly something. It's horses for courses, and I think that the tactical combat in Age of Wonders is what turns a lot of people off, the commitment of playing that particular game, just because it can take so long. Even though you can now save during tactical combat, you used to not be able to save in the tactical combat, so you were committed for the 2 or 3 hours it would take to have like a big siege battle in Age of Wonders, as an example. Shards are saying, I don't know how anyone can compete with where Age of Wonders 4 is now. It's so far over the top at all levels that it seems futile to even try, in my opinion. Yeah, no, I disagree with that. Like, I mean, I love Age of Wonders, but I'm really looking forward to this. And the more I read about what this Reforged is doing, and we'll get into all that as well, I can see it's not really competing on the same level. Like, I think Age of Wonders, yeah, it's got modern polish and all sorts of different bits and pieces, and again, it's an amazing game, but this one I think sort of has got its own little niche as well. So we'll sort of see how they go with this. I'm actually for me, I'm actually, the more I read about this, the more excited I get about Elemental. To be honest, this Reforged, because it's much more than what I thought it was when it was first announced. It's still going to have that same oldish look, which I was a bit disappointed with, like as we mentioned by others in the comments. But if this is sort of like a stepping stone into like a new look at something, I'm really, really excited for that, because I think Age of Wonders does what it does very, very well, but Elemental can do what it does very, very well as well. So I think there's room for both. It was a bit like Master of Magic, the remake of it, like from a few years ago, essentially came out at the same time as Age of Wonders, and I think that makes it difficult when you actually do bring out a game that launches at the same time as a big game, you have to say, Age of Wonders is essentially a AAA type game, whereas Master of Magic, when it was relaunched a few years ago, it was sort of more of an indie type game, and I felt that I enjoyed both those games for different reasons, and I think Elemental is going to fit the same sort of bill. I think it's going to probably more replace the Master of Magic sort of style of gameplay than the Age of Wonders one. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Like, as I said, the more I read about it, the more I like about it. We'll get into it though. What do we get up to? Drexy's in saying, Fallen Enchantress combat is nicely paced. Age of Wonders combat puts me off playing it. Yep, that's a common comment. Mormagirl saying, I do not think it competes with Age of Wonders. They're fundamentally different experiences. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Battle Mode's been saying that as well. Yeah, Battle Mode's saying that right now. Then he's saying, yeah, I see them as very different. I'm not changing my name. I've had it since 2005. Battle Mode, you need to change it. It's a 20-year-old alias. If I can change from Daz24680, you can change Battle Mode to Battle Mode in upper and lowercase. So it's very easy to do. You can do it. So Mormagirl's saying, I'm sorry, I'm still a long way off with my comments here. I'm just going to have to sort of get down through them. Thor's saying I got my handle in 1975. Wow. Actually, when did I get mine? It would have been Daz. It was what I used. It was because back then you only had 3 characters you could use back in the old days of. Which whenever Space Invaders came out, because I used to play that, like on that would have been around about that era, I think. No, it would have been after 1975, probably more like 1978. I think was when I became Daz. So Daz has always been part of what I've done in any sort of gaming thing ever since the 1970s. Yeah, Battlement's saying, which I found unplayable because of annoying quests. What was that one through there? Sorry, did I miss some comments there? I did too. Yeah, sorry, it keeps on, the chat keeps on skipping away. Yeah, so Morbigel's saying screen handlers are older than some of the players. Yes, I got mine since 1999. It's finishing its masters right now. Yeah, I was in the late 70s where DAS was like the 3 letters that you had. There was a game. There was a space game, like a side-scrolling space game. And I forget what it's, Galactica or something. I think was what it was called and I was really good at that game. Like I was always in the top leaderboard, you know. So there'd always be a DAS in like on the game that I used to there's a pub that I used to play at. That was in the corner, and I was always up near the top of the leaderboard on that particular game. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, it was good fun, that game. Back in the day, anyway. It would be shitty now. So Capstan saying also the AI knew when I was where I was and attacked with bow and horses. So annoying. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know if it cheated. I'm not sure. Gary X saying Age of Wonders 4 is a little bit too busy for me graphically, and everything is everything is balanced. But I'm saying that's okay, Daz. You're dead right. Well excited. Yeah, no, it's a great. I'm really looking forward to Elemental. And as I said before, it was sort of when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, I wonder what that's going to be like. You know, like I was excited, but in a lowish way. But the more I'm reading about it, and the more I read the comments from Stardock themselves, like from Brad, and we'll have a look at those in the chat. I looked at them about 6 hours ago, I think, 7 or 8 hours ago. Yesterday, just to sort of have a look just get a bit more of a feel for what to talk about today. And I was thinking, oh wow, this is actually looking really, really cool with what they're sort of with what they're talking about. So Mormagul is saying one of my favourite features of Fallen Enchantress, the legendary heroes, was unit design. Yes, I think that's I know what you mean, and that's actually something that is that I'm pretty sure that's going to be a big feature of this new version as well. Shadow's saying, yeah, I agree with the statement. That's why I'm still playing Shadow Magic. So so it's sort of interesting. Shadow Magic was a great game. Mormagul's saying throwing people on horses. By the way, if you're not sure, when we're mentioning Shadow Magic, that's Age of Wonders 2 from way back in 2003. So it's a very, very old game. It was very unbalanced, and I mean, I don't know about you guys that still play Shadow Magic, but I couldn't play it unless it was very heavily modded. And it was so I had like a series of mods that I would only play with Shadow Magic, and so I lost track of what was part of the base game and what was part of the mods. To be honest, like there were certain things that were introduced in mods that I sort of fell in love with Shadow Magic, but never really. And I still can't tell you. What was base game and what wasn't, just because I played so much of it with it very heavily modded. So Mormagul saying throwing people on horses or wolves was clutch. So there was So you've got different sorts of things in there again. I don't know. We'll have a look and see if we can sort of see some of these things in what was going on. But I'm saying do not mistake the tutorials in Gladius for the quests in the Elemental games. I don't know. Like I can't remember the tutorials in Elemental. They're completely different with completely different games design reason behind them. I think the missions quests in Elemental were cool. They were over quickly, most entirely optional, and usually didn't take you too far from where you needed to go strategically, unlike Endless Legend. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's one of those things. I just don't like them. That's when it skipped before with Thor saying he got his handle in 1975. Jeez, it keeps on skipping away. Bannerman saying, which I found unplayable because of annoying quests. Yeah, quests are frustrating. Shards are saying, I'll tell you what's called is using Shadow Magic's map editor to make Dominions maps. The game is a gift. Oh, that's actually an interesting perspective, actually, because it is a they were good looking maps. I've got to say, back at the Age of Wonders maps. So Battlemode's saying, I think your intuitions that the combat mode in Gal Civ 3 wasn't fun and needed more player agency was absolutely correct. Yeah, but they answered all that in Gal Civ 4. Gal Civ 4 really is for me. It's one of the great games around at the moment. It's so good. Battlemode's saying it just needed a more involved auto battle system, which is what we have now, yes. Oh, there we go. Battlemode's saying Derek is at Amplitude now, so he won't be part of this particular team. So they're talking about the original Elemental team. Garrick's saying perhaps it isn't the old team, but a team of old people. Yes, well, maybe it is. Okay, Drexy's redacted a message, so I don't know what he said. I can't even see it. Otherwise I'd unredact it, but I can't. Drexy was then sort of saying, my question was if Derek was making a new game at Stardock. Yeah, so he won't be. In that case, if he's at Amplitude, which I forgot about that, of course he's moved on to Amplitude now, so he won't be involved in this particular game. Having said that, like I think big lessons were learnt with the release of Elemental, and when we look at again a game like Gal Civ 4 and just the way it's been developed, it's sort of I'm really excited about where this could end up, like over the course of its reforging. Cat's saying Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes had also those giant super ultra uber units that were alone and walked towards your base, always like they knew where the player is about too. I'm not sure, I can't really remember much about it, to be honest. Yes, and Cat's saying like they reached you at turn 5. Yeah, I'm not sure, I can't remember. So saying I'm somebody that still likes Planetfall. Age of Wonders 4 did not replace all my other games. It complements them, yes. I think the complement, that's a good word to sort of say about these sort of games. They complement each other in whichever genre. Murillo is saying, was it the icons of the research tree or skill, whatever, it didn't like in Fallen Enchantress, could look more immersive? Yeah, look, it's an oldish game, I think, graphically, so it'll be interesting to sort of see what they do, if they do change that. I don't think they will. They're saying, but hey Daz, by the way, Age of Wonders 4 ain't a good game. It's, well, I disagree. Sorry, there you go. Sithel saying, you're correct, Tenru. It's a great game. I agree with Sithel. Yeah, so Sithel's saying Shadow Magic is more like Age of Wonders 2.5. That's true, yes. Paul is saying, was the arcade game you played called Galaga? No, it wasn't. It was, it would have been out around about 1981, I think, but it was, the timing is right, but I don't think it was Galaga. I don't think, that name doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, I can't really recall. It was a side scroller. We had to pick things up off the ground and then sort of zip across into other places. You could see, you had a little mini map in the corner. I can vaguely remember because you'd have to sort of try to plan your runs to sort of get different invading forces before they could do anything. It was pretty cool. So Tenra was saying, no, it's way below average. So Gary Oak's saying, did you read the mood boards for Shadow Empire? I think there is a new one. No, I haven't actually, sorry. Galaxians? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't remember. Can't remember the game. Anyway, let's go back to Elemental. We'll just have a quick look at some of the graphics and we'll just talk a little bit. I haven't really had a close look at these. So we've got 8 screenshots. Again, it's looking like the old Elemental, and I don't know how much work has been done. It's just been announced. It hasn't actually been. We don't have a date just yet. I do remember this style of thing where there was like quest locations where your army would then arrive. Certainly, I'm trying to think of Lord Relius, whether he looked exactly like this. It looks slightly different than what we had seen before. So that's hopeful that maybe they have changed the graphic style a little bit. Certainly the 3D modelling looks clunky, like what it did back in the original game. With what's happening in through here, I guess we'll sort of see over time with what does actually happen. I did read that the cities are now going to be more meaningful, the way that you actually build them up. So Defender probably was the map at the top. Actually, you might be right, Bubo. I think it might be Defender. So George is saying, hey, there's thoughts on the Prison Architect game and its expected sequel that's been delayed. I'm not sure, actually. I didn't play much of Prison Architect. Sizzle's saying, Tenru, I have not played average. It must be an absolutely awesome game. Defender has the best ever intro sound, says Bubo. It may be Defender, actually. I think you might be right. Sizzle's saying it is on Gogostim. I'm not sure which one you're talking about there. It was Defender. I thought it was Galaxians, but Defender sounds more like what Daz was talking. Yeah, pretty sure it was Defender. Yep. So yeah. So A Strander saying can't wait for Elemental Reforged. Well, let's get it. Like we'll go through the rest of what the information is here because. As I said before, when I was reading the discussions, this is actually where like things start to really shine for me when you start to sort of see the scope. So yeah, so this is again looking, just seeing if there's any real sort of graphical difference between Fallen Enchantress. The shadows certainly look sharper, so that looks better. But the units themselves are looking similar to what they were before. It's still going to be tile-based rather than hex-based. This is actually one thing that I sort of thought was an issue before Elemental actually launched, was that they were using tiles and not hexes. So I was pretty scathing about that. But having said that, like it works in so many games. Like tiles, I'm no longer as much of a hex purist as what I used to be. I used to think every game had to have hexes, otherwise it was useless. I'm serious about that. That's really was my my perspective on different games. And but it's like there's so many great games that use tiles rather than hexes. And I mean, you look at even games like Dominions, Battle Sector. There's some great games that use tiles very, very effectively. And of course, Elemental / Fallen Enchantress was fine, like with the tile system. It sort of it didn't interfere with it at all. I still prefer hexes when I see them, but anyway, the tile system is there. It'd be good if they would turn them on actually, so you could sort of see the tiles. This is interesting. I don't remember seeing anything like this before in the game, like where it takes up 4 tiles. So I'm pretty sure that's what's happening there. It may even be more. That may even be 9 tiles. If we sort of think about if these are individual, yeah, that's 9 tiles for that particular one. You can see there's a seam that runs through there. And a seam that runs through there. Yeah, so that would be 9 tiles. Interesting. This does look good, actually, I've got to say. You know, like it's sort of like you do still have your archers at the back. Yeah, I'm sort of getting the excitement levels are coming back up again. Like it's which is good. The game sort of did deform the map. The map was deformable, and so. Looks like that's still just part of the base game with what does go on. There's that quest with the dragon at the back end there, and there's only one more screenshot in through this other side. These are very much the same sort of style. Looking at what they actually are. Yeah, this is the style. They're sort of like the very much low res sort of style of units, which I you know, the comments that were sort of saying that they were felt a bit negative about those. I'm just in the same camp, to be honest, but overall, I think it's looking, you know, it's looking good. Certainly, Lord Relius looks different from what I can remember, but it's been a long time. These also look like they've had a bit of an up, like the actual icons that you can then go and do things. Again, it's been a long time since I've played them, but the Death Demon looks like it's old. So I'm thinking we're going to get a bit of a combination of remastered and new stuff as well, I'm thinking. Anyway, let's have a bit of a read. So Elemental Reforged, create a character and lead your civilization in this epic turn-based fantasy strategy game. Design units, research technology, learn magical spells.
Fallen Enchantress.
Sorry, I'll just pause that one. Send adventurers on quests, which I'm not keen about. Craft magical items, trade or battle other civilizations for dominion of worlds of your imagination. And so the date, we don't have a date just yet. So you can wishlist it. And again, I've got that tracking link in the top of the chat. So if you are going, all it does is take you through to the Steam page by that link that I've got there, sticky at the top of the thing there. So if you click on that one, at least then Starlock knows that I'm talking about their game. So it helps me, and of course helps them. But I would like, for me, this is worthy of wishlisting, absolutely. And so we've got a few different announcements which have just sort of been coming out a little bit with this one in through this other side. We're starting to get dev journals as well. We might have a look at that as well. Anyway, build a civilization to survive in an RPG-style world in Elemental Reforged. Start the game by creating a unique character, setting up your opponents and entering a randomly generated world with the objective of finding and controlling the shards of magic. With each shard you capture, your power will grow, unlocking more powerful spells and abilities, but be mindful for other civilizations share your ambition. I always liked that about Fallen Enchantress, to be honest, was the like the way that it handled, getting control of the shards. It wasn't one of those things where it was over and done with as soon as you actually got it. It sort of was. There was a bit of interplay which I really quite liked, from what I can remember anyway. Reforged. So long ago, Stardock sought to create the ultimate fantasy civilization game. It was called Elemental. In this game, every unit was singular, but with its own unique items and equipment. Players could design their own cities, leverage the resources and magic of the world. The world itself was transformable through magic, with players able to mould it to their liking. The technical challenges in getting all of this to fit into a 32-bit engine led the game to being redesigned and ultimately released in 3 different games that focused on key elements of the design: War of Magic, Fallen Enchantress, and Sorcerer King. Now, I don't buy that, I've got to say. I don't buy it. And I'll talk about my perspective. So, it's interesting what they're doing with it, but there's nothing negative about this. And I know that, I read one of the comments from Brad saying that it was a very disappointing launch for Elemental. But this then talks about why I think it was disappointing. So in the game, every unit was singular and had its own unique items and equipment. So that's a big thing to have in the game. Players could design their own cities, leveraging the resources and magic of the world. That's fine. The world itself was transformable through magic, with players able to mold it to their liking. The game was crazy. That's why it was sort of like a bit problematic. There was so much in it. There was so many, there were so many game mechanics that were actually added that were just wildly powerful. And so there was very little balance in the original game. And for me, that was what the problem was. Not that there wasn't enough to do. There was way too much to do in the original game. Technical challenge again is to fit. Yeah, so that for me is not what the problem was. The problem is that all of this stuff was so unbalanced, it just killed the game. Essentially when Elemental came out, and so that's my perspective on it. And having read one of Brad's comments about it as well, that's really what the story is behind that. So now, thanks to a remastered 64-bit engine, Stardock has finally been able to take the best parts of the 3 games and bring them together. That's cool. As well as add features that were cut before War of Magic was released, including building cities to leverage the magic of the world. That's cool as well. So this is certain stuff that because I know that when the beta process was going on with Elemental, there was all sorts of things being tested all the time. So the testing was of individual game mechanics all the way through. And so it was very hard to get an idea of what the final picture was going to be, but there was a lot of innovation that was being done in Elemental, like a hell of a lot. And so when Cale came in, or when Derek Paxton came in to try to sort of reimagine how it should then work, he actually chopped bits off away from what had been put into it. He didn't add to it. He distilled it down to what was needed to make it into a good game, and he succeeded. But it was actually the chopping. It was the editing. Was actually was what he did. Was really the genius of what he did, from my opinion. Now, lessons have been learnt, so that's not going to happen again. We're not going to end up with something crazy. I don't think, anyway. I would assume that we're not. But certainly we did start off with something that was absolutely wild. It was like some games sort of are underwhelming, but Elemental was overwhelming, and so Fallen Enchantress then sort of ended up slicing all the bits and pieces off and reforming them into something that was much more digestible. Okay, never the same game twice. Elemental is a game where the story revolves around the character you make and the decisions you make. Diplomacy is deep, characters are unique, and the computer players have been designed to be challenging and non-cheating. That's cool. There we go. So that answers Kat's problem, or Kat's question. The world is your sandbox. The spells discovered and technologies available make every game progress differently, and how different civilizations react to you depends on your actions and your allegiances. Now, it's been a long time since I played Fallen Enchantress, but I do remember that feeling of discovery every time you played the game. It felt different every single time, which I really can't think of another Fantasy 4X where the world actually shapes the direction you take in the world. Like, if that makes any sort of sense, like, the different things that you would discover, the opportunities that you came up with, as well as you were sort of doing your scouting and your conquests, were really, they shaped what you did, and I really loved that about the game. So I think that's really cool. Actually, it really is a never the same game twice, and certainly it wasn't back in the day either. So that's going to be, I think, enhanced even more. A strategy game in an RPG world. Actually, let's have a look at that one. So this is a strategy game in which every unit has its own backstory, unique talents and special skills. You can use the units native to a given civilization or design your own, giving them special items, charms and enchantments. They had that in Fallen Enchantress again, eventually. Choosing between technology and magical progress ensures civilizations are distinct and unique based on game mechanics and not just lore. Yeah, which is cool. I really like that again. Deep story-driven campaigns. So for players who want to explore the rich and deep lore of Elemental, the game includes 3 new campaigns. So I'm not going to be playing the campaigns. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm just going to be playing random maps. Each one explores an aspect of history of the world. Yeah, I mean, I know most people actually like these sorts of things. I'm just someone who doesn't. I'll always play a random map if I can. Enjoy an all new user-friendly UI optimized for modern PCs, making a journey through the world of Elemental intuitive and compelling. So I'm just hoping they keep the balance, basically. I hope that I'm sure they will. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the... well, we can have a look at this one here. I won't read all of it. I'll just try to skim past. Yeah, here we go. Disaster. Let's have a read of this one. This is actually... we trimmed, cut, streamlined and reshaped, but trying desperately to fit this vast universe into a smaller memory footprint. Okay, this is when it was sort of releasing. When Elemental War of Magic was released in 2010, it was chaos. It was heartbreaking. I felt so sorry for Brad and the team, I got to say, at that time. It simply just didn't deliver on our dream. It was very unstable. We spent so much time trying to work around the memory issues that the game we released lacked the refinement that our players expected. Yeah, that's an accurate. This is really what happened. This is accurate. Undaunted, we learnt, iterated, and adapted. 2 years later, Elemental Fallen Enchantress emerged. Now remember, in 2010, when this released, and it was a disastrous release, at that time, Stardock made the commitment to the people who had bought Elemental that they were going to give them Fallen Enchantress. I think that was 2 other DLCs that were given at the same time. So that's a long time commitment, to give away a lot of games, basically just to try to fix something up. Which, as I said before, I became such a fanboy of Stardock at that time, just because of that approach that they took. It was such the right thing to do, as a gamer. So here we go. Yeah, Undaunted, we learnt, reiterated, and adapted. 2 years later, Elemental Fallen Enchantress emerged, a refined, streamlined take that kept much of the strategic depth and advanced AI, delivering on many of our original promises. We gave it away free to everyone who bought War of Magic. Yes, they did, plus DLCs. So it went beyond just that. Fallen Enchantress became highly regarded among strategy fans, praised for its intelligent gameplay, engaging mechanics, and innovative features, like the ability to zoom from a richly detailed living world to an elegant strategic cloth map. Innovation since widely adopted across the genre. Yes, so that, I'm pretty sure they invented the cloth map, but that was invented in Elemental. It wasn't invented in Fallen Enchantress. I remember testing that. I remember doing a test thinking, wow, this is actually really cool, because I'd never seen it before. And so a few years later, we delved into other aspects of our original vision with Elemental Sorcerer King. This iteration emphasised a robust crafting system and compelling quest mechanics, which is why I'm not interested in it. Finding its own niche audience despite stepping away from heavy strategic depth. Yeah, so this wasn't a 4X strategy game, but instead a crafting adventure game. Yeah, which is why it wasn't my type of game. Player versus the world. It was fun, but not what players expected. Yet Elemental, God, I love that that these dev diaries are not the marketing hype stuff. Like this is nuts and bolts what actually happened. It's so refreshing to read the negatives from a developer, because it means that they are aware of them. Like they're not trying to cover them up. They're trying to embrace what went wrong so that they can fix things and actually make things better. So this is when I read this stuff, I get so excited about what Elemental can become now. just because of the insights that you know, like it's not like so many people when they have something go wrong will blame everything other than the decisions that they make, but they're owning everything that actually happened with this, and that for me just bodes so well for where Elemental's going to end up. So it's funny saying that after 15 odd years, you know, like to say where it's going to end up, because we're sort of back to this excitement levels again from 15 years ago, or from even longer, you know, from when the beta started. Yeah, Elemental remained fragmented. We had 3 different games that emphasised different aspects of the original design. War of Magic focused on the player using magic to shape a world, which it really just went up crazy with. Fallen Enchantress focused on leading a fantasy civilization. That was really it did a very, very good job of that one. And Sorcerer King focused on questing and crafting. Well, I'm sort of, yeah, that's really of very little interest to me. None of them fully realised what Elemental was supposed to be. Not Forgotten, Time Passed, Stardock grew, other games, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Started work with friends like Mohawk Games, yeah, Old World, Off-World Trading Company, etc. So remarkably, even 15 years later, most of the people who worked in Elemental are still at Stardock. That's another thing with Stardock too. You know, like it's there's like the people I've been dealing with at Stardock. I mean, have been there for years and years and years. You know, like and that's, for me, that's important with companies. You know, like we live in an era where people move jobs every 6 months. You know, but this is really, really cool. And scheduling is work that we get the opportunity to bring them back into a single project. A normal company, what we're doing is insane. Every person who's on Elemental back in 2008 is in a lead role now. You have one of them on the given project, not all of them in one game, but we wanted to do Elemental justice. So here we are, remastered the original engine to be noted. This is pretty cool. Again, remember I mentioned before that they had to build the engine from scratch. So they didn't just, you know, find an engine and use it. They had to make it, and so they've had to make this Fantasy 4X engine for themselves. We've updated the graphics engine to DirectX 11. We're running a lot of code to bring the pieces into a single game. The terraforming and royal dynasties from War of Magic, the deep unit design and civ building from Fallen Enchantress, and the crafting and quest system from Sorcerer King. I just hope that the terraforming doesn't go crazy. that was what killed, one of the things that killed Elemental. Anyway, that's sort of one of those little things that puts a bit of a shiver up my spine. To be sure, this will be a Fantasy 4X strategy game. Elemental was never intended everything for everyone. It's a fantasy civilization game in an RPG world. Yeah, that's cool. Really, really excited about this. We are 15 years later. We've been working on it for a long time, and we're excited to share the progress we've made. So this is what the new Elemental is going to be. This is really the nuts and bolts. A vast procedurally generated fantasy world where every game feels fresh and distinct. An RPG level depth where every unit has a unique story, stats, and place in your kingdom. A sophisticated dynasty system, originally dreamed up for War of Magic, allowing your characters to marry, produce heirs, and inherit traits dynamically. This is really, really cool. They did introduce that. I forget where it was in the games, but that's like the way that they did it was very, very good. It wasn't Crusader Kings, like in that sort of style where you're inside really looking at things. It was much more almost sort of like splicing different, you know, you end up with different abilities from it. Can't even sort of really nail a game that sort of does it the same way, but it's a more simple system. Rich terraforming mechanics to shape the land itself according to your strategic vision. That's one thing I'm not excited about, because for me, that's one of the things that killed Elemental. Enhanced crafting and quests inspired by Sorcerer King, ensuring deep immersion and story-driven gameplay. Not really excited about that either, to be honest. Again, I don't really like... crafting is fine, quests aren't for me. I just don't like them. Tactical combat that's engaging, strategic, and now powered by an advanced AI that makes auto-resolve battles both practical and satisfying. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Like, this is something I really want to have a good look at, because I know how much work that they've done with artificial intelligence, with galactic civilizations, and they've done a hell of a lot, not just in terms of graphically sort of doing things with AI, but actually getting the AI to think through problems in terms of tactical combat and making choices. And I know that Stardock prides themselves on what they do with AI, which is sort of what's happening in through there. Sorry, I can just see there's Millard is saying, why no Twitch stream? I don't ChatTactic. I do as purely YouTube. I don't do this as a Twitch stream. So this is a YouTube exclusive. And the reason I don't do it on Twitch is because on Twitch it's easy for me to do. Like the Marble Run is probably the main reason that I don't do it, because the Marble Run I can actually I can run it on Twitch like that. It's super easy, which would be great. But I made a commitment to put these on YouTube, and so if I do a giveaway, I can't really do a giveaway from both areas, and so ChatTactic became a YouTube only thing where it's hard doing the giveaways, but that's sort of where we are. No, it's not, this one's not on Twitch. And none of them ever are. The ChatTactics are always here just on YouTube as a YouTube exclusive. So that's sort of where we are. A beautifully redesigned UI, optimized for modern displays. This for me is interesting as well. So I was really worried that we were just going to get a remastered, not a remade, if that makes any sort of sense. But the redesigned user interface, optimized for modern displays, razor sharp at any resolution, fully leveraging today's PCs. I sort of hope that they take that into what they've sort of done with Gal Civ. For me, that would be really exciting. I don't know if they'll have gone that far, to be honest, but anyway, the fact that they're looking at the user interface, and of course by that stretch they've then got the user experience as well, is great. Integrating modding tools, more robust and user-friendly than ever, empowering our incredible community to expand and personalize the world. That's pretty cool. They did actually have one back in Fallen Enchantress and Elemental where you could actually build like special locations yourself, and so there'll be a workshop of all those different sorts of things. And remember, the original game was not part of Steam, so even when Fallen Enchantress first came out, it wasn't a Steam release, and so but now we'll probably end up with like a Steam library of different locations we'll be able to bring in. And I'm hoping that they then end up finding ways to package them up so that you can just bring in a pack of the best of them. That would be pretty cool. I'm sure that modders will do that, where they end up with getting collections of the best of the locations and bring those through. So that's going to be, so the community is going to be heavily involved in actually the world. And I think this is actually one of the aspects of what makes this game sort of different to games like Age of Wonders as well. Like, is the world itself is really rich, and can be sort of shaped by the community, which is really cool. Immersive story-driven campaign, rich. So the campaigns I'm not interested in. So now we can fully hide the fact. Now we can't fully hide the fact that this was a game originally made 15 years ago. The art assets have been made with tools made by companies that don't even exist anymore, but the gameplay is quite unlike anything else out there. Elemental Reforged is our love letter to you, our fans who have kept the dream alive. We can't wait for you to finally experience Elemental as it was meant to be. Thank you for joining us on an incredible journey. It's going to be epic. There we go. So that's from Brad, the lead designer and CEO at Stardock. So again, I really like that Brad, he doesn't shy away from talking about the negatives, and I like that a lot. I've got to say, a hell of a lot. It's sort of if you only read this one here long ago, Stardock sought to create the ultimate fantasy game. This is marketing hype. But what Brad writes is the reality. So this is the hype, which is not strictly. It's, for me, that stretches the truth a little bit, but the actual what Brad wrote is spot on. And when I was reading the comments, I might just have a quick look. I know we're spending a lot of time with this, but this is exciting. This is like a big announcement. Community, and through here, if we just go and have a look at the discussions, there's already a lot of people actually. Oops, something went wrong. What's going on here? Why is there? I'll try that again. There we go. So there's a few pinned messages. So updating the visuals. So there's going to be, this is again where you see Frog Boy, that's Brad who writes these sorts of things. So there's different people sort of writing different stuff in through here, wish lists, etc. Elemental, we're back. There we go. So more than a remaster. This will be sort of like where there's just information, but there's not a hell of a lot in these. It's more the questions that people have been asking is the interesting thing. And if you have a look at a lot of the actual comments, there was things like marriage, for example, which we've already seen that's going to be in it. Will the AI get improvements? Yes, we saw that. That's going to have it. Suggestion for new gameplay design, or rather not. people are sort of people, and again, Stardock listens to what people want. I'm just trying to think of this, see if there's anything that would, multiplayer. This is a lot of people are actually commenting in here. How's this one go? I'll buy it more than once if that's to happen. Same, dropping the multiplayer. Yes, please. Play by email. Yeah, I'm actually hoping it's not. I've got to be honest. I find that these sorts of games that cater for multiplayer, the whole focus of the game then comes down to one of being balanced, and I think that balanced games kill single player enjoyment. So for me, it's sort of one of these things where multiplayer for me would actually be a detrimental thing. Personally, I'm hoping that's if they do introduce multiplayer, it's not something that's top of mind. It's something that sort of gets added in later. Also, these games are not short games. These take a long time, and so if a game is designed for multiplayer, that's one thing. But to add multiplayer to a game, I really hope they don't do it. It's the game is not streamlined enough, or won't be. I don't think it'll be streamlined enough to really be a good multiplayer game. So I'm hoping that they don't. If you're personally interested, that doesn't mean it's not worth it. Most 4Xs have multiplayer for a reason. You're not that reason. That's okay. So here we go. So Ashbury saying multiplayer for 3% who play mean design is limited for single player games. So don't waste. Yeah, that's my opinion. 100%. Because it does change. It changes the balance of a game. To have a multiplayer game, it has to have balance. You have to have everything has to even itself out, because otherwise it's unfair. So that for me is actually saying it's, if you're not interested, so most 4Xs no, they don't have it. Most 4Xs don't have multiplayer. I mean, like some do. The balanced ones, the boring ones do. The exciting ones don't. The ones where anything can happen. I'm talking about Age of Wonders. I'm talking about Age of Wonders got multiplayer. I don't even know if it does. But anyway, I'm talking about things like Distant Worlds, games like that. The more you cater for multiplayer, the less you cater for single player. In terms of like unbalance for me is important in these sort of games. So Black Smoke is saying there's zero chance of playing multiplayer, but if adding that to the game gets a decent more to buy the game, at least it's a decision Stardock should look into. I disagree. I think it's just going to kill it, to be honest. I think it's going to be a negative. If not at the time of release, possibly in a coming DLC. Yeah, no, just forget it. Forget it. Stardock, forget it. Don't do it. Actually, here we go. We've got Luna, who is like part of the community, like a community manager for Stardock, is saying Gal Civ 3 and Gal Civ 4 had multiplayer, but very, very small multiplayer communities. That's really the nub of it. No one's going to play it multiplayer. I mean, there's going to be a handful of people. There'll be a vocal minority. And I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're one of those vocal minority, but you are going to be a very vocal minority of people who want it. If Gal Civ 4 don't have large multiplayer communities, then it feels sort of hard to justify trying to add multiplayer to a 15-year-old game. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it, Stardock. Please don't do it, because all it means is you're going to start to dilute the unbalance of the game, and unbalance is important. I don't know if there's anything else from Stardock. No, this is page 2. Don't know if I'll talk about it. Please consider remote play. Yeah, I mean, talking about different games, but anyway, only War of Magic had Elemental Fallen Enchantress, Legendary Heroes, and both Edition and Sorcerer King did not have multiplayer. That said, I've brought this up in the community team. Yeah, don't do it! Stardock, don't do it. You don't need it, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff in there. There was something about cities that I read. Yeah, please no snaking cities. There was actually a comment here. So please won't have the snaking cities this time around to reach certain resources. Right now, the idea is to implement the original design, which never saw the light of day. You can't snake it out until all 4 sub-tiles are filled. The yields of the tile affect the production of the building. So that's cool. So that way you've got limitation. I like limits in games, and this is actually one of the things. The original Elemental was unlimited with what you could actually end up doing, and that for me is just why it wasn't just unbalanced. It was just crazy unbalanced. Anyway, I don't know if there's any other comments in through there. Anyway, that's where we are with that one. So anyway, that's an exciting announcement. We've spent a lot of time with that one. Just read the comments again, just from where I think I left it off. Where did we go? Catson saying not super giant creatures again. They were broken, and Battleman saying the giant creatures are not broken. They don't home in on you. I don't remember them being an issue. I know that there was always a threat, which I quite liked. There was different things that you could trigger. The other good arcade side scroller would have been Scramble. That rings a bell as well. Defender. I think it was Defender that I used to play. But I was saying that wasn't Fallen Enchantress, but I didn't play the games before. So maybe they were in those. I don't remember them being a problem. But I was saying the giants and dragons mill around waiting for you to go hunt them. Yeah, that's what I remember. They will occasionally stroll around near you, but to the best of my knowledge, they're not programmed to just attack at the start. In fact, I think that there were creatures like that avoided the actual cities. They would walk past the cities, but not actually attack the cities. I think it was sort of like I know there was something where there was a bit of a threat at times. But it was pretty cool. Drex is saying they really need to update the look more than these screenshots. Yes, I agree. I think that over time, I would have liked to have seen a much more modern take on the actual on the units. But I'm saying, by the way, guys, I'm going to do my Stardock staff thing and ask that if you're interested in the Elemental Reforged, could you please wishlist it? Yes. And again, you've got the link there at the top of the screen there, so that's a tracking link. So if what you've seen does interest you, then please put a wishlist down. So Thor was saying, yeah, already did it. That's cool. I've already answered why no Twitch streams. Sci-Fi Snob was saying, bought Fallen Enchantress and was disappointed with it. It will not live up to the promise. I think if you had brought the original Fallen Enchantress and maybe even played Legendary Heroes and you didn't like it, you probably won't like this one either, I would think, for whatever the reason was. Just saying, I like terraforming, but it needs to be handled with care. It does need to be handled with care. It was crazy back in Elemental. So it was sort of like when Elemental launched, from what I can remember, there was all those sorts of mechanics that were in it, it was more to say, hey, isn't this really cool that you can blow up the world like this, rather than it being, this is something that to use it in the world, in a game, it has to be handled in a very, very different sort of way than just, isn't it cool to blow things up? Which is sort of what we got for the original Elemental. So what did we get up to? Yeah, so terraforming AI is terrifying, says Gary Oak. Yeah, I agree. I don't really terraforming in limited ways for me is actually fine. I think one game that does this well is Warlock. Warlock 2 does actually have a mechanic for terraforming certain terrains, and I quite like that. And all it does is sort of change really the value of terrain. You can sort of put up choke points as well to a degree, but it's actually it's not easy to do, and you've got to sort of spend time to use the terraforming. So I'm hoping it's not going to be crazy like when it first came out. How do I get my name in the giveaway? When I do start it, you just have to then put whatever the keyword is. I think I've still got a game to give away. I'm not even sure of that. I'm assuming I have. Gary X saying, usually AI can't judge the use of terraforming well, or can be sabotaged easily with terraforming. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the AI actually manages this, in this version of the game. The fact that they're actually, working on the AI is very, very heartening, because they do a good job with AI at Stardock. Hi, Sorbacol, how are you going? So I was saying one thing Stardock was the best at was AI and Gal Civ. It was much harder to Diplo cheese the adversaries. Yes. They were they were so innovative over the years. When you think about, I think it was one of the Gal Civ, I think it was Gal Civ 2 that ended up with a mechanic where up until that point in time, there was if you started to build up a force and moved it towards the border of an enemy, games never really responded to it. They didn't see that as a threat. But Gal Civ started to look at what it could see that you were doing, and actually then start to gear itself up for its own war. If you were presenting a threat outside, and it was pretty. And so the AI, they've always really focused well on the AI. Tiger Russ is saying multiplayer still has a limited lifespan. A Strand is saying, hope that they won't be snaking cities. So gamey for faster teleport movement, yes. And grabbing resources without outposts and influence, yes. I agree, 100%. Looks like they're changing that one. More sophisticated city planning, says A Strand, yes. We've just looked at that there. The plan is for it to, for you to spend a lot of time in around the city before you snake off, and even the snaking that's going to happen will be much later. So Shards is into saying forward is usually the best direction to traverse. I have noticed dredging back to the glory days isn't the best move with today's fussy gamers. It's funny you say that. I sort of agree to a large extent with games, but and there's games that I know have been remastered that I'm thinking I'm not really interested in them, but then as they come close, I think actually I really am. And the game that I'm thinking about that with is Dawn of War. I'm actually really looking forward to that. So it's sort of, and when it was first announced that they were remastering Dawn of War, I was thinking, not really. It's just going to be the same old sort of crap. But it's actually not. And there's been a lot of very, very popular games that have come through with their remastering. Just trying to think, there was one that came out even this year, and I can't think of what it is. But there was one where the remaster actually ended up being extremely popular. Like it was one of the most popular games on Steam for about a week, I think. Which an old game and all it was just better graphics. That was not even a remake. This is a remake. I forget what the other game actually was. Still saying I terraform a lot in Age of Wonders 4. Yeah, when the terraforming in Elemental was to build monstrously big volcanoes and blow things up. It was crazy, from what I can remember anyway. Just saying, I do hope that they try to avoid parking lot terraforming, where you just make one form of uniform terrain. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to be doing there. Stronghold Crusader. Yeah, that has just come out actually. That's come out just very, very recently, I think. We might have a look at that. Let's go and have a look and see. Because they've just remastered that, and I think that has really taken off. Yeah, Definitive Edition. Here it is here. It came out this month. So I haven't got it, but it is, by all accounts, this is rated 90%. There's a lot of people playing it. Gird your lions and sharpen your steel. Besiege 20 unique enemy lords. But when I was looking at what it actually does do, it's there's a lot of people actually now playing this one again. And this is a really old game as well. And this is just a remaster. It's a definitive edition. Essentially, it's got a lot of different things in it. So yeah, I think that they're becoming quite popular, these remastering these old games. So I'm going to see if I can get my hand on this one. Actually, I used to love Stronghold Crusader. Anyway, yes, so that's the one. That was the one. Thanks, Gary. Excuse me, I've got a croaky throat. Well, let's have a look at the gaming news, I guess. I think we'll have a look at that one. Sort of spent a lot of time on like an hour and a half on Elemental, which again, it was something that I'm extremely excited for Elemental. I'll just go into my Steam library and just have a look and see what we've got in here. Just make doubly sure that we're not. I do have that one paused. Yep, that seems to be okay. I'll just move it into Community Hub or something, just so it's not playing videos. Right, so back in here. Unfortunately, I can't zoom this up like we have other things as well. So if I go into my library and have a bit of a look and see what else there is in these new, here we go, mood board and designer notes for aristocracy. So so this is an oligarchic instability gives way to aristocratic order. A new political structure emerges, one bound by blood and code. The sixth installment of our mood board. We'll analyse the rise of aristocracy. This is in Shadow Empire. I'll sort of skim a little bit because we are running out of time a little bit here. So this series of articles aims to showcase the main themes of Republica, the DLC expansion currently in development. So aristocracy, yeah, I won't talk about those so much. Designer notes, feudal code, coming soon. We don't know when that actually is. So now there's another one that was done through there as well. Meritocracy, looks like space dwarves. Oligarchy back in through there again as well. God, there's actually been more in here than I realise. Yeah, so that was meritocracy in through there as well. This is going to be cool, actually. This is going to really sort of change the game. God, there's a heap. So, yeah, wow, there's actually a lot of work being done with bringing this information out. I won't spend any time with it, but it's it looks like they're going to really be changing the political structure of the planet that you play on, which is going to be really quite nice. Yeah, so that's going to be very, very detailed. Gal Civ, organic difficulty in Gal Civ 4. So what's this one about? So Gal Civ 4's depth is its greatest strength, but it can often be the biggest barrier to entry for new players too. So Gal Civ 4 is no exception. For some people playing these games for different reasons. Yeah, well, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Game setup is important. Yeah, they really focus a lot on game setup in Gal Civ at this stage. I'll just keep on skimming past this. I think that there's it's probably worth having a bit of a read if you're into Gal Civ. I've got to experiment more with the starts. I always screw up the starts, and it ends up taking forever to play the game whenever I play Gal Civ. Yeah, so there's more and more updates that are coming through. There was a lot of little updates, like bug fixes and things. Anyway, we'll go back out of that one. Field of Glory has got a championship coming up with Field of Glory 2 and Medieval. It's funny it's got that there in Kingdoms. I'm guessing that's just the announcement. It's not a Kingdoms announcement. Okay, Runequest Warlords. This is actually something where I do mean to cover this actually with what's going on. And so there was actually a gameplay. They did sort of show, step into Glorantha, watch the event, join the beta, play at Gen Con. So in this case, a strategy game rooted in myth, so based on the classic RPG Runequest from 1978. Runequest Warlords brings players into a world where myth, magic and conflict shape every battle. The main campaign, defend Talistar, 3 factions. This is where I get a little bit underwhelmed with these sort of games, as I would like more than just 3 factions, but they are pretty well fleshed out from what I can sort of go and see. I might even go and show it, actually. I'll just minimize that, and here it is here. Just to show what it is very, very briefly. So this one here is, it's not Warlords, it's not the remake of Warlords, it's Runequest is really what this one is about. So at the moment there's no skirmish in the game. This is sort of like I don't even know if you can get the game. This is sort of like a development build that I got my hands on, but I was allowed to show it. And so multiplayer will come into this one. This one is more balanced than other games. The maps are preset, I believe. I don't know if skirmish will be random maps. I don't think it will be. If we go into load game, where did I get? I'm just partway through a campaign, for example. So if I just go there, at least I can sort of show you what it looks like. So this was just part of the original quest, and so again, these are purely again we're looking at tiles, not hexes, in through here. It reminds me very much of Battle Sector, and I don't know if it was anything that was really done with that one. Graphically, it looks really quite nice the way it sort of does work with the when you sort of zoom in. I can't change the angle, which is weird, so I can't look up. I can zoom out, so when I zoom in is when it changes the angle to look sort of more down. So the camera for me doesn't work well at this stage, so it's a little bit clunky. This is our forces. We've got sort of like enemy type forces coming back over through here, like beastmen type groups, and then we've got some more up the top through here as well, which is sort of which we have to sort of force our way through in this instance. If we sort of zoom around and try to have a look at our units, if we can we get down low enough? Get down low there. Yeah, for whatever reason, it's going up above my units. So I've got like the different units that are actually in there. So yeah, I'm not sure why that's the case. I'll just zoom back out. But this one here, and again, it's one where you've got like different types of units. They've got different sort of skills. I won't spend any real time with it, but you've got like militia, which you can sort of then go and do different stuff. It feels very much like Battle Sector, the way it sort of does work. I think if I just right click.
Move there. Move, men, move! Let's hunt some brew. We'll protect the land from chaos.
Missed.
We are shield of the tribe. March!
We're going to move past. They're going to get a shot at us through the zone of control. But the overall effect of it looks pretty good.
Let them face Humakt. A scratch won't stop us.
Another one through here as well.
A scratch won't stop us.
Yeah, voice acting I'm not overly wrapped in.
Van said move there. Move, men, move! Odalia, guide our spears!
And again, not being able to, I want to be looking up a bit, you know, like just a bit more than where this is. Weapon on cooldown, and then we can sort of move in here with our hero. There we go, destroyed that one. And he can still keep on moving through. Gets another shot. So anyway, that's sort of that's what you can sort of expect from Runequest. It looks good. The game looks pretty solid, like with what it does actually have, you know, in terms of the everything. But it's nothing's random. It's all sort of pre-designed. So yeah, that's going to be sort of an aspect of the game that you know, for me won't be great. The fact that I don't know if Skirmish will actually have random maps. So that's sort of that's essentially going to be interesting. I'm interested to see what this one does, but I'm not passionate about it, I guess. You know, so but I am interested to see where they end up with this one. Anyway, I'll leave that one where that is. Just click on hang on, main menu. And just exit. It looks good. The game does look good, but it's still early days yet for that one there. So that's sort of not even sure if RuneQuest is in the like if it says what it can actually then go and do. Runequest Warlords. It is in here coming soon. Yeah, there's no. It's not even early access. So the version that I do actually have is is essentially, it means it must be coming soon in terms of early access. The fact that I've actually got it and can show it. So, you know, that's really sort of where it is. But it's sort of, it was not, until we get skirmish maps for these sorts of things, I don't really like to sort of cover them. But it's interesting. It's an interesting looking game. So, but I wish there was more in it. Reminds me a little bit of a fantasy, what is it? I can't think of what it was. Fantasy General 2, in the sense that there was limited factions to play. And I think that these games, for me, work better when there's a lot of factions that you can sort of then go and choose from. And a game that I guess I look at now that I think is a great game, that started off being very, very limited, was Warhammer Battle Sector. You know, Battle Sector is one that, when you look at at what it now has got, I mean, there's a lot of... yeah, there it is, Warhammer Battle Sector. So Battle Sector is, I'll just get rid of anything that does sort of show up there, I'm guessing. But there's Battle Sector now has a lot of different factions that have been brought through with DLC. So it does take a fair bit of, it costs a fair bit to sort of flesh it out. But it is really quite cool. Now the actual game itself, like the base game has only got like one or two factions really in it that you can then go and play. But you know, with all the DLCs, it's become a really, really cool game. I think it's very positive, 82%, 88%, which is great for these sort of games. And this one does feel very similar to that previous one. I'll just go back to the into here. Battle of Britain lens on. This is for Scramble, Battle of Britain. That's still waiting on the campaign mode to come to that particular game. So actually, I'll read a few. I won't let the chat get too far away from me. Where do we get up to? That way I can just keep tabs on what's happening. Yep, so Sith was into saying remasters can be great if done well. So Command and Conquer and Age of Empire series had some great remasters. The Warcraft 3 one was not. Shards is saying, I don't know what's keeping Blizzard alive at this point. I think BlizzCon is more popular than anything else these days. Sith was saying, typical Daz, so used to Dominions that he needs at least 60 factions. That's a very narrow view. I don't need that many. I just need some differences. You know, like it's sort of I don't know. Like for me, I do like having different factions. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just spoiled. I'm probably spoiled rotten with different things. DF Hack, of course, another release through there. Mob Manager is back. That's fine. Dwarf Fortress, more and more little changes made. Nothing big there, to be honest, from our perspective. We've got the. So this is listening to a soundtrack on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not sure why you'd do that, but anyway, if you like the songs of Age of Wonders, they're there for you. Couple of weeks away, and then we've got the Archons coming, so really looking forward to being able to show that as well. So look out for that one. As we keep on going back forward, there's more about that tournament. It's more about the tournament through there. Panzer Corps Day. This was last year, 2 weeks ago, so that's old news now. Yeah, there's another tournament there for. I don't know why I'm getting so many tournaments showing up into this other one. Quarterly roadmap update. This was from 2 weeks ago. I haven't done a ChatTactic for a little while. All right, so this is what's coming, the early access roadmap. So pilots and squadron update. So that's Junkers 88 bomber and the multiplayer update lobbies. Okay, so that's coming soon. Future is the BF 110 playable fighter, Bristol Blenheim bomber, a Heinkel. That's interesting. Interesting they're going to put a British bomber in. That's actually quite important, because that means that you're going to be switching your roles a little bit, and you probably won't be flying the bomber, but you'll be flying protection missions for the bomber. Heinkel 111 bombers, redoubts, damage and simulation upgrades. It's already pretty cool what it does do. Landscape and environment art. I hope that they start to fly over the land a little bit. More pilot nationalities and channel defense campaign. That's going to be cool as well. Well, this is sounding like it's getting more and more fleshed out, actually. So it's I'm waiting for the actual. I actually am waiting for the campaigns, because the campaigns are going to be dynamic campaigns. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that in Scramble. Just passed on these things. They're just all about the championships. Dev Diaries and Art of Archon Prophecy. Again, a lot of we'll do once we get close to the Age of Wonders 4 Archon launch. I'll do more in depth there. I am playing the game. These are the games I've been playing. Warlords just today. Dagger Directive. I can't stop playing this game. I'm playing it on hard, and it's really quite hard on hard. Like it's I don't survive very long at all. Which and it's sort of like each sort of mission that you do expands on the actual gameplay experience, which is pretty cool. Lost in Prayer, I did this one yesterday, as well as Earth versus Mars. Earth versus Mars I really wasn't that impressed with, to be honest. I thought I was going to be more impressed than what I was. This is like an Advance Wars type game. I'm going to be interested to see what happens beyond the demo, but I just played the demo yesterday, and yeah, as I said before, pretty simplistic. Yeah, there's better games that actually handle that genre. Lost in Prayer is an interesting game, though. Played Dwarf Fortress. I had to end up leaving before I could sort of finish off building my soap industry. What was that last one there? That was I'm not allowed to talk about that one. So Distant Worlds 2, of course, Age of Wonders. I've got the Archon update for that one, so I've just been experimenting and playing with that one through there. Been playing Dominions on my channel a lot, actually. So we've actually got some in the middle of a really interesting play as Asphodel versus Ermor. So the two death factions, playing against each other, which is really, really interesting, actually. I found this one. So I've been live streaming that one, which has been really cool. Anyway, I won't keep on going back through the list, but that's where we are. So I think we'll organise our giveaway now. I don't think there's anything else we needed to really talk about. So actually Gary was saying we're still waiting for the Dwarf Fortress Siege update to install it again. That's going to be really cool, actually, when they do bring that. I don't know if they mentioned that, but that's sort of what they're working on at the moment with Dwarf Fortress. Weapon figure. So there's ranged weapon fix and Forgotten Beasts. How? Did they fix up the doors? I don't think they did. Yeah, all they've done is colour them, which is cool, but it's they haven't fixed up them. They still can't break open doors, which I just can't believe they haven't fixed that. Like, that was broken when they launched the game. Come on, Tarn, you need to fix that. We need to have Forgotten Beasts that can smash open doors. So it's sort of funny. So I was hopeful that was going to be surely it can't be difficult. Like, from my understanding, it's just a setting somewhere in the game, just to say, yep, they can break open doors. But no, we don't actually have that one. But yeah, Siege update is going to be pretty cool. So anyway, that's where we are with that one. I'll just go and see what game I've got that I can give away. Just bear with me. And then I'll just get it all set up. I'll just make sure I do have a game that I can give away. I think I do. All right, I've got one more key for Emperor of the Fading Suns. So I'll do that as a giveaway for today. So I've got an Emperor of the Fading Suns giveaway. So that Emperor of the Fading Suns is a game. Actually, I should talk about this because this is actually another game that we do need to. Emperor of the Fading Suns Enhanced. Now this is you can see they're very positive. It's 94%. So this is a game. It's an old. This is essentially not even a remaster. It's really is an old game. It's it is a remaster. It's an enhanced version, but there is actually another big update coming, and I don't know if it's going to show that. So if you ask for some changes, now it says that you have a number of quality of life improvements and changes coming soon to Emperor of the Fading Suns Enhanced. Join us as we discuss these and start a whole new campaign. So Andrew, the developer of Emperor of the Fading Suns, does weekly live streams of him, like either playing the game or developing the game, I think. So he certainly does talk like this. These are more about that, but there might be in the community hub maybe something else. Discussions. There will be. Anyway, maybe I'm not allowed to talk about it. Well, he's going to be talking about it. So anyway, it's coming up next week. Or later this week? No, next week, I think. We're at the end of this week. He's going to then sort of be talking about the quality of life things that are going to be added to the game. Now, I don't know what they are. I just know that there's been a lot of work done behind the scenes. New modifications. I don't think any of these will actually have it. No, this is all old stuff. That's oldish as well. Anyway, that's the game we've got to give away. Pretty cool game. So I'll just go in and set up one of these. Get Nightbot. See, Nightbot's useful because we do need to use Nightbot to do these giveaways. So what we'll do is we'll end up with the Go to giveaways, keyword, next, next, and it'll be win. So guys, if you just type the word win in the chat, I will start to get everything set up so we can then do the marble run. So as you enter, your name will appear here. So in the meantime, I'll just minimize that one. So just type the word win in to be in the running. So I've got very limited keys to give away now. So like in the coming weeks, we'll have to sort of stop doing giveaways, but we still have at least one today. All right, so marbles on stream, we'll get that one running. And while that's doing that, we'll open up Sublime Text. Get those marble runs in there. All right, so I'll let you guys just keep on adding those in. And we'll just go back into here. So there we go. So we're getting a few people in there. Just let it happen again, just as you sort of bring those in. Yeah, I can't see anything where it's talking about what's coming up with this one. Yeah, actually, it'd be interesting to see the quality of life changes to the game. It would be nice actually to see those, because the so that's going to happen. I think on the 4th is what he actually had through there. So yeah, it's because the game is great in terms of when you first start playing it. It's not overwhelming, but it soon gets like there's a lot of micromanagement as you get into the game. So I'm interested to sort of see if he's focused sort of efforts on that as well. Like it's a very interesting game. It's probably the most Dune-like game in terms of politics than any game that I've actually played. So it's it's very, very cool the way that sort of does work. Right, we're at 21 entries, so I'll start to close off the run. So just last chance to put the word win in, guys, to be in the running. So I've only got 21 that are going to be running for this particular one. So just give you a couple more seconds. And there we go. So Fran has now put it in. Fran should end up in here, all things being equal. Here we are. 22. Right, so I'll grab this list. Copy. And just go back into here. Control V. So 22. So only a short number today. And Blue Wolverine as well. All right, I'll just pop you in. So I'm just going to go into Find, Replace, and then Replace All. And so 23 with Blue Wolverine. So William Chapman saying, have you played any of the XCOM games? Yes, I have. Actually, the new ones and the old ones. They're pretty cool. Anyway, that's going to be our list. So 23. I'll just go and save the list. Go back to Marbles on Stream. And change this. Clear that one. Open this. Finish. Okay, then we have to go back out to the Grand Prix. That'll be 23. And we'll play 3 maps. Autofill. Good luck, everyone. All right, first race. Here we go. So we'll get started with everyone. Hope you've got it all set up correctly. Yep, that looks good. All right, down we go. Just snowy terrain. So here they come back through. Serenity going back through the middle there. We've got Sorbicol out in the front. We've got Hugh David, CB. Who's going to be the first one down the tubes? It's going to be Sorcerer, and Blue Wolverine actually has the late entry has hit the lead. Sorcerer coming in second, coming down into this position where they may get kicked off the map. So watch out. Oh, straight through. Paul has gotten trapped in there. Blue Wolverine sort of moving his way up through that one through there. Just zoom back out a little bit and see if there's anything else that may be a problem. There we go. William's gone. William has gone. Sorcerer's gone as well. So William and Sorcerer both have been thrown off the map. Blue Wolverine is still coming in. Rich has now moved off as well. So they're going to get 0 points at this point in time. Maladroit coming in. Justin's fallen off. There's little holes everywhere for people to end up falling. There's Drexy in the middle there. Here we go. So now our new leader is, well, there's 3 of them. There's Lewis, Bubo, Hugh David, Paul, Tiny Mutant Squid, then Blue Wolverine. Coming down here to another little loop. This is going to be another one of the potential problems where you can be kicked off by these things here. Nobody else has fallen off just yet. Here comes Hugh David. Will he make it through? Tiny Mutant Squid. Straight through. Yes. Tiny Mutant Squid has now hit the lead. Hugh David and Tiny Mutant Squid are together. Let's just watch a bit of the action here. They're moving in towards the finish line now. Surely one of those has to be pushed off. Whoa. Yes. Diamelio was pushed up but managed to still stay on the map. The guys are coming in for the lead. There goes Blue Wolverine, who's been kicked off the map. Let's have a look. So Tiny Mutant Squid and Hugh David coming in for the final little run through here now. So we've had a lot of attrition. That's what's going on. We've got Bubo scooting around. Who's the first one out? It is going to be Hugh David. No. They're all bumped. Yeah, it is Hugh David. No, yes, it is Hugh David. Hugh David, Bubo, Tiny Mutant Squid, Blue Wolverine finally ends up getting killed off with being kicked off. Bubo, oh, Tiny Mutant Squid. They both hit the edge. So Bubo actually wins. If you hit that edge, you're done. Thor's gone. So this one has got like Lewis is gone. Shards is in. So we've got 3. Drexy's off. Oh, what a disappointing way to finish the race. You've gone all this way, and then you fall off the edge here. Fran is going to be okay, so Fran will get there in 5th. Maladroit just was lucky. CB just got through as well. Paul didn't make it. See you later, Paul. Sithel and Wiebenholz is still at the back through there. Still just got only 2 more on the map. Oh, Wiebenholz didn't make it either. It's a good map, actually. I like this one. and also Sithel didn't make it either. So that's final results. Only 7 finishes. Wow. If we have a look at the Grand Prix, so 2015, 12, 10, 8, 7, 6. So that was actually, they're good numbers to get started with, guys. So I'm guessing, I'm putting money that one of these guys will be the winner for today, because I don't think it can be that damaging to play the next one. Let's just go to the next map. So here we go. Psychedelic Passing Pursuit. This is a fast map. I think I'll just play just grab one of this. This was only like 20 seconds or something, I think, to actually play this particular one. I'll just follow one of the marbles up at Raven Desk. It's going crazy. Who's in front of us? I think Rich, I can see, and Blue Wolverine are the ones just ahead of where we are. Where are the others? Oh, they're all off on the other side over there. Oh, Blue Wolverine's already finished. Shards is finished. Bubo's finished. Serenity's finished as well. These are all like Shards and Bubo were winners of the last one. There we are. So we've now everyone's finishing off now. So yeah, Drexy's the last one in, are you? That's the finish line there. There we go. Blue Wolverine wins that round. Okay, that's pretty cool. So we just go to the final results and have a look at the Grand Prix. So Bubo, 32 points now. If we go to the actual points, 32 there, and we've got 27 there. So so Bubo in front of Shards. Blue Wolverine there with 20 points, then 17 in through there as well. So still anyone's game. Not anyone. It's unfortunately, you guys from about here down really can't win. But we have a bit of a group up the top here that can actually win the game. Here's the last map. So William's saying last place, yes. All right, let's get into it. This one is a bit longer. So we're going to go down. This is a danger point, I think. No, it's not. Drexy out in the lead. Where's Bubo? Bubo looks to be in a good position here to take the prize. Here we go, coming down the next little leg. So we've got Drexy out in front, Bubo coming out in front as well. So they're just hitting this this area now. Rich is taking the lead. Rich was up in the leaderboard, I think. I can't remember who was actually up there now. I know Bubo was. I know Shards was as well. All right, let's see how we go here. Looks like a pretty safe one. Okay, he'll be the first one through. That's interesting. So this changes, which makes it dangerous for some people. Shards has made it. Bubo's in there as well. No one's actually made it down. Yes, here we go. So we've got Fran, we've got Bubo, Diamelio, Rich. Fran is out in front now. Here comes Rich and Luiz, scooting their way through. Yeah, they're not going to throw anyone off. Oh, Blue Wolverine somehow died. I'm not sure how. I got Blue Wolverine in there twice. Maybe I accidentally put you in after you were already in there. I think I may have ended up. You ain't like it's yeah. It's okay. So you've had double chances. Well, that was on me. That was my fault. So here comes the winning line. We've got Luiz. We've got Rich. I should have double checked. I normally double check if I add someone in. So Bubo got killed. Well, that opens it right up up now. So if anyone can sort of get through, it's in that leaderboard. I don't know if anyone still has. Still waiting on a few of the others. Here comes Silvercoal. There's still some points to be gotten, but not very many. There's Drexy, CB, Paul, Blue Wolverine, Sithel's out. Mad Hat Ravendesk is out. William Chapman is out. And Thor is out. Is that it? Yeah, there goes Thor now. There we go. Right. So congratulations, Rich, on getting that one through there. So we'll just now go and finish the Grand Prix and see what the points actually are. So coming in third place, we have Diamelio. So Diamelio in third. Shards has come in second, and Bubo is the winner, even though it got 0 points for that last race. So So congratulations, Bubo. What I'll get you to do, I'll just double check the points. Yeah, 32 points, shards on 27. So there was no change to the points that you guys had at the end there. It was interesting. So I'll get you, Bubo, if you can actually email me at daz@daztactic.com. I'll just put that in there. Yep, that's okay. So daz@daztactic.com. I can then send you the key. So if you could do that, that'd be great. But anyway, guys, we've run out of time for today. So again, if you are interested in Elemental, we certainly spent a lot of time going through the history of the games. Why I'm excited? I'm excited because again, with just going back through the fact that they're looking at it with open eyes. There's no rose-colored glasses with the Elemental, with the way they're looking at this game at this stage. So I'm really excited for it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next week if you're here for ChatTactic. Otherwise, I'll be back again tomorrow, actually. I'll be playing, probably be playing on my own channel for a little bit tomorrow, and then I'll be playing on the Slytherin channel. There is actually one game I didn't actually talk about, which I'll talk about next week in that case. There's a new, I think I'm allowed to talk about it. I'm doing the launch. I'll just go back to the main menu and quit out of it just before I go. Just before I go, but I will talk about it next week, I'm sure. We'll confirm that one. So I'll just minimize that. If I go back into Terminator, I'm pretty sure they're talking about it because it comes out tomorrow. Dark Fate Defiance. So Terminator, this is a really cool game. It's sort of a game that I didn't think I would actually like playing it, but I really enjoy it. And so this is and what they've got is they've got a DLC coming, which is coming soon. Well, it says coming soon, but it's coming, for me it's the 30th, which is tomorrow. It's the 29th for me. I know it's the 28th for most of you. So it comes out tomorrow. And this actually adds a whole other way of playing the game. So it's got this mode here, and this mode here is actually a mode where you've got like a random, like not random maps, but you've actually got choice as to where you go on the maps, and so you sort of build up. It's a much more interesting sort of campaign than just following a story. So you sort of build your own perspective. I'm really looking forward to this. So I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to show that on my own channel before I'm streaming on Slytherin. I think I'm doing the launch stream, so I'm thinking that the Slytherin stream will be ultimately the launch for this one. But this is looking this. I'm really excited for this. I've been waiting. As soon as I heard about this was coming, I've been really wanting to play it because I enjoy the base game, which is just going through story campaigns. It's a great little game. Anyway, that's going to be coming tomorrow, approximately in 19 hours. So I've just got to wait. I'm just waiting for the key to come through. But this is and this game it's got a lot of polish in it. It's fun to play as well. I don't play it much on my own channel. I should play it more actually because it's very cool. Anyway, I thought I'd just finish that one off. I thought it might come up in the what's coming up stuff in my news feed, but it actually wasn't. But this is something that I will be playing tomorrow. Anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. So actually, a friend is saying, did they ever fix the performance of that game? Do you mean I never had any problems with Terminator. So I did with streaming it. When I used to stream it, I wasn't pushing out enough kilobits per second, and when I fixed that, I could then stream it properly. I know that when I used to show the game, it used to look terrible, but it now looks good on my system. Like I've spent a bit of time trying to figure out what I could change with my settings to make it work, and it now works very well, I believe. So, but I never had any problems with the actual game itself. Like I'd be playing really quite happily, and people were watching my screen and it was looking blurry, but it wasn't the game, it was actually my stream. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next week if you're around, or during the week if you're watching the